Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be using a 5.5 hook to crochet this top, and I started with a slip knot and then I made a long chain. So it doesn't really matter how many chains you're going to be making. What matters is that it measures from the down part of your armpits down to your waist, or as long as you want it to be. Just make your chain as long as you want your top to be, and make sure you measure yourself. So I made those chains and just done with making my foundation chains, and it was measuring about 10 centimeters. Yeah, that's as long as I wanted it to be. And then I started my first row. I left the first two chains and then I started my first row inserting the crochet hook in the third stitch. So we're going to be doing the half double crochet stitch. That's the stitch we're going to be doing. And so for this first row, I just kept doing my half double crochet stitch in all of the chains that I already made. So you can continue doing your crochet stitches, your half double crochet stitches till you get to the last chain, and then I'll come back to tell you what to do next. Okay, so this is what we have for the first chain, and for the second chain we're just basically going to do the same thing we're doing. So we're going to do our double chain. That doesn't serve as our first double crochet, so we're still going to insert the crochet hook into the very first chain and do our half double crochet. So I did this for about 24 rows. Just do as much as it can cover from your back down to your underarm, just very close to your boobs. All right, so this is what I have. I am quite satisfied with the size. So we'll start our next row by doing decreases. So we'll do our double chains, yarn over, insert in the same crochet hook, and then insert in the next crochet hook, and then drag everything out. So that serves as our first chain. Then we'll just continue like this. So this is where our reduction would start from. So we'll start reducing. So this is the chest area that actually has that slanty look. So from now henceforth we are going to be doing our reduction, and then when we get to the down part we are not reducing, we are still going to just do our regular stitch. So we got to the down part, the same row, and there was no reduction done here. I just did my double chain, turned and did my regular half double crochet, the stitch we're using for this project, in that same chain, and then we continued that way. For the down parts there is no reductions, so this is what I'm just trying to show you here, no reductions in this down parts of the. All right, so back to the top, our reduction part. I actually left two chains. I stopped halfway, I left two chains, and then I yarn over, inserted into the first chain, and then inserted into the last chain. Inserted my crochet hook into the last chain, and then I have 4 chains, and then pulled everything out. Then I did my double crochet, double chain, sorry, and turned. So this is just for the reduction part. I'm just showing you guys again. Then I inserted my hook into the first chain, inserted my hook again into the next chain, and then yarn over and dragged everything out. So I'll always have 4 chains on my crochet hook when I'm doing my reduction. So just yarn over and drag everything out. Then I continued with my half double crochet in the remaining chains, the remaining stitches, sorry, then till I got to the down part. Remember, this part doesn't have any reduction, so I just did my two crochet chains and then inserted into the first crochet stitch and did my half double crochet. Continued. Remember, we're only doing the reductions in the top part. Okay, so I'm done with my reductions and I did about 30 rows, and I'm just going to start doing my increases. For the increases, I'm just going to be doing 2 half double crochet into the last stitch in the top part, 2 double crochets into the very last stitch, and then for the next row after that one, I'll do my double chains, yarn over, and also do 2 half double crochets into the first half double crochet stitch that we did. So that's all that's going to be for this part of the design. So for this part, we're just going to keep doing 2 half double crochets into the last stitch, and then when we turn over, we would start the next row with 2 half double crochets to give it this increased look. So that's basically all we're going to do for our increases. Alright, so I'm done with my increases and this is what I have, and I did 30 rows just so it will be equal with the decreases. Or if you just want to know if it's equal, just place it this way and you can tell if you've gotten to the part where you started doing your decreases. So after that part, we're just going to start doing our half double crochets all the way. So we're not doing any decreases or increases anymore, so we just keep doing our half double crochets into all of the rows for the next rows, and we're going to be doing it for the next 22 rows that we did the first time. So we're going to be doing half double crochets without decreases or increases for 22 rows. So this is what I meant. Just did my 2 chains, yarned over, inserted into the very first stitch, and then continued that way. There was no increases or decreases. Alright, so just to show you again, so this is my I got to my last increases row and I did not do any increase anymore. Instead, I just inserted my half double crochet stitch into the very last increases row stitch, and then I did my 2 chains, turned over, and also did my half double crochet stitch into the very first stitch, just 1 half double crochet stitch into the very first stitch, and then I continued like this for 24. So I continued like this for 24 rows, no increases, no decreases for 24 rows, just for it to be equal to the very first part we started with. So we did 24 rows at the very first part and then 24 rows at the ending part, just for it to be equal. And then this is my very last half double crochet stitch for the very last row of my regular. So this is how I ended it. I left a little bit of yarn so I can tuck it in, cut it, and then pass it over. And then for this, so this is what I have. This is what it looks like. And so for the sleeve, I'm just going to attach it to this part that is very like the part very close to my shoulder. So I'm going to show you how I attach the sleeve. You can actually attach it anywhere you want, depending on how you like it, how it fits you. So for the sleeve, I'm going to start with a slip knot. After making my slip knot, I just keep it aside, and then I go back to the part where I actually want my sleeve to start from. Alright, all I did was to insert my crochet hook into the very stitch that I want my sleeve to start from, and then I passed my crochet hook into that chain, brought it back out, and I started doing my chains. So I just did my chains as long as I wanted to be. I wasn't actually measuring because I didn't use a tape to measure because I was going to measure it on my body. So when I got to the part where I felt the chains was long enough for me, I stopped there, and then it can literally be anywhere. You can totally wing this thing. So I stopped there, and to continue, I left the first two chains, and then I started doing my half double crochet stitch in the third chain. So this is because I want the sleeve to still have the same pattern as the body of the crop top. So I don't want the pattern to be distorted, and that is why I made this chain to continue it this way, just so the pattern would be the same. Alright, so I got to the very last chain, and to attach it I just yarned over, and then I inserted the crochet hook into, I left that very space there because that I don't want to use that stitch. So I inserted it into the very stitch that has the double line look, and then just for the double crochet, to give it that equal double crochet look that I will always start with, I inserted my hook, this time without yarning over, and then pulled it out. So that served as my first double crochet that I always start with. Then I turned it over. Okay, so that's our double crochet chain that we always start with. And then I inserted my hook after yarning over. I inserted my hook into the very first double crochet chain of our sleeve, and then I did one double crochet stitch into each of the double crochet stitches in the first row that we have already. Alright, so I got to the top, did the double chain, started into the very first just to give it the equal look, and then I continued with my half double crochet stitches until I got to the end of the row, just like this. And then getting to the end of the row, I left that one stitch there, and then into the next stitch I inserted my hook, and I did a slip stitch. So I'm quite okay with this size of the sleeve. I just like it the way it is this way, so I'm going to cut my yarn and pass it out. This is our first sleeve, and for the second sleeve we're basically going to be doing the same thing. Just go to where you want your second sleeve to start from, and then I already had my slip knot, inserted my hook, pass it over, and then I started doing my chains. Just make sure you have equal chains to the first sleeve that you already made, make sure you count. So I basically did the same thing, just showing you how I inserted it again. So this time around I just inserted it this way without yarning over. It's basically the same thing. I just realized that I did two different things, but you can either do it this way or do it the first way. So it's like a slip stitch in the first chain, slip stitch in the next one, then turn, yarn over, and start my my half double crochets into the half double crochet stitches I already have on the sleeve. So I'm about to start with my edges and also the spaces for the ropes, you know, like the belts, the ropes that we're going to use to tie the top. So I did my slip knot, and then I started by doing 2 single crochet stitches in the very first chain. 2 single crochet stitches in the very first chain. Then I did 1 chain, left 1 crochet space because I really don't want my space to be very visible. I don't want the space for the belts to be visible. So you can tell that the space is there, or just really small, because I want my ropes small, not big, and I don't want it like looking like it's just in a hole. Okay, so I did 8 single crochet stitches after the very first space that I left for my rope. So all I'm going to be doing here is starting the row with 2 single crochet stitches in one stitch, and then I did 1 chain, left 1 stitch, and then in the next stitch I did 8 single crochet stitches. I continued that way until I got to the top, until I got to the end of the row. And then when I got to the end of the row, the very last stitch, I did 2 single crochet stitches in it. Then I continued with my single crochet stitches in all of the spaces at the down part of our project. So this is me just doing 1 single crochet stitch into all of that stitches in the rows. Just 1 single crochet stitch, just because I like to, do this to all of my work to give it that neat finished look. So I've gotten to the end of the down part where I did the single crochet stitches in all of the rows. So at the last stitch, I'm just going to do my 2 single crochet stitch in the very last stitch, just to give it a bit of an edge. Then I'll continue with my single crochet stitches in each of the stitches from here down to the top. Also remember that at this part, this is the part where we did our 8 single crochet stitches and 1 crochet stitch space, 1 chain, leaving 1 crochet stitch space for our ropes to be inserted, of our belts to be inserted. So this is where I did the 8 single crochet stitches, chain 1, leaving 1 crochet stitch, and then doing another 8 single crochet stitches into the nest for our rope. Just make sure you're doing the same thing in this other part, so that your ropes can be inserted into the equal holes. Then this is the end of my rows. I have the same thing, so I did 3 rows for my sleeves. I did 3 rows of half double crochet, and for the belts I just inserted this my already made stitch knots into the middle. That is the second row. Did a slip stitch, did my first chain, and then I just made a chain that is as long as I want it to go around my back, and then a bit to my front. So I went ahead and did the same thing at the other sleeve. So I already did the same thing at the other sleeve though, so all I had to do now is just insert them both just this way into the holes I already made. So I passed it from side to side, giving it that zigzag look at the back. Alright, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and also ask me any questions if you have in the comment section. Always be here to reply you. And thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.